We have Sierra Cruz. She's from the East Psychological Services at the University of Guam, assisting women victims of abuse. Good morning, Sierra.
Good morning, Chris and Sabrina.
Hi.
So we just wanted to. This is something that I kind of thought about when we get the magistrates. Unfortunately, even with this, it's really tragic with everything that's going on with COVID-19, a shelter in place. There are still instances of domestic violence that we're seeing, and these are the ones where people are getting charged and the police are getting involved. But in talking to some of the stakeholders in these different movements here, it seems like there's a lot of things happening that aren't necessarily getting reported to the police. So that's why I felt it was important to kind of fold you guys in the conversation and share with our audience what services are available through your program.
Yes, thank you so much for including us in this discussion. So we know during this time, a lot of people are in their homes because that's where it's safe. But for victims of domestic violence, their home is the most dangerous place for them. So it's very self-isolating, and we know how hard it is for victims to even have access to their phone, especially if the abuser is at home as well and doesn't go to work. So usually with victims, they wait for their abusers to go to work. They secretly reach out to friends, but during this time, we know it's very hard to be away from them. So we wanted to make sure that victims know we are here and available for them over the phone and through video sessions. So the University of Guam is continuing to provide services through phone and Zoom, and I will give you our information so that you can call us for any reason. So we see victims, but we also see people who just need help during this time.
Mm-hmm. What's the number?
So our phone number is 735-2883.
Okay.
And our email is isa@triton.uog.edu.
And what kind of calls are you guys getting?
So we usually, when we talk to victims, it's when they already reported or they have already sought help from law enforcement or they have been in the shelter already. So that's pretty much the clients we see, but everything is confidential here, so we won't share any details, but we just pretty much just talk to victims that have trauma and difficulty experiencing moving on from the abuse, and if they need safety planning, then we refer them to our program partners from Vero and the Guam Police Department.
Have you been seeing an increase in phone calls?
No, not an increase, but we have been hearing from a lot of victims who we were already seeing and talking about, like friends or other people experiencing the same thing.
Right, and talking with Speaker Judy, I called her up the other day. She was telling me, and she was Vero, that what they're getting, and this is just so. I had the hardest time wrapping my mind around it. My mother was a victim of abuse, so it sits very close to home for me. Is they're getting calls at Vero where women are calling in and then they're abruptly hanging up, and she said that that means that the abuser is there in the house, and so. They've had measures of Vero where if anybody calls back, they don't say who they are or where they're at. So I thought that was really telling, and that's why we kind of wanted to give the opportunity and really recognize you guys, because there's just so much going on, and looking at everything that we're dealing with, it's so easy to forget that there's sections of our society, whether they be homeless or victims of abuse, that there are people like you guys and your group that are, making sure that those people don't fall through the cracks.
Yes, and our services are completely free. I know it's hard for victims to reach out right now, but we also want to encourage family members and friends, because I know it's sometimes you see signs with friends and people that that might be in these types of relationships. So that's a good way to reach out to them, instead of just waiting for them to reach out to you.
Have you ever had to call the police? Have you ever had to call the police on behalf of anybody that's called in?
We do safety planning with victims to if they are feeling that they are at risk, we don't force them to call the police. So if they want to, we could. But for some instances, sometimes if they call the police, they might be at further risk, and we know that it could happen if they're trying to seek services, especially now.
And there's just so much increased stress all around. This is something else when I was talking with Speaker Judy, is that everybody is on edge. That's not any kind of justification, but it creates the propensity for these incidences to occur, which it's can't even.
Yeah, like during this time, a lot of people are out of work and very stressed out with finances, so that can cause a lot of tension in the home and lead to domestic violence situations as well. That's really right.
Right. Sierra, is there anything you wanted to add in closing? I know you're busy. We don't want to take up any more of your time,
No, that's it. I just want to say thank you again for having us on. And if any person wants to call us, just call us any time of the day. We are here Monday through Friday, 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 at night. And we also can talk to you outside of our hours of operation as well.
Okay. Well, thanks, Sarah.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Be
good
safe.
luck. Wash your hands.
Okay, you too.
Okay, bye.
Bye. That number
9:25.
is 735-2883.
Right. Pretty sad stuff. Talking with Speaker Judy. She's going to call in tomorrow or something. I just wanted to give recognition to these groups like Vero, like ESA Psychological Services, and social workers. They're really dealing with a lot of things that
Mental health professionals.
right. And we're kind of just trying to cover this whole COVID-19 response, and doing that, we're starting to see out on the edge that there's other things going on that we want to share with you guys.
Right.
I want to do those Roosevelt. Let's go back to the Roosevelt now. In case you weren't listening this morning, very early we played a press conference, a clip from the acting secretary of the Navy, Thomas Modly. Breeze got some numbers from the USS Theodore Roosevelt.